Welcome to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper-Smith, a doctor-prepared nurse practitioner, and this show is about empowering you to live a radiant, healthy, and balanced life. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, Melissa Marcum. Melissa is a professional astrologer and founder of Melissa Marcum Vibrational Astrology and Vibrational Vitality. She combines the wisdom of evolutionary and vibrational astrology with modern wellness and biohacking practices. Through her work, Melissa helps individuals and professionals discover their life purpose, optimize their health, and navigate personal and professional transformations with clarity and empowerment. Welcome, Melissa.
How are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to be on the show.
Yes. So we met, you were doing some readings at the Indigo Door, and I had just turned 50, and I was at this kind of point in life where I said, what next? And so I said, why not get a reading and see what you have to say? And we read my birth chart, and I really got some insightful information from that, and I enjoyed that process.
Yeah, so I look at the chart very differently. Being an evolutionary astrologer, I want to know the soul purpose. It's not just about, oh, your sun's in Aries, your moon's in Cancer. I mean, I think that's all a very important part of the chart, but it goes deeper. It goes to your soul contracts. Why are you here? Why are you existing on a perpetual cogwheel like most people? They come in on one energy and they're trying to get to the other energy. But because this is not a traditional theory taught in school per se, they don't know any of this. So it takes that aha moment. I'm sick of doing the same thing and not getting the results that I want. And I feel like that happened to a lot of us in 2020. We had an awakening, I would say, with COVID and the world changing. And so that propelled me personally to study astrology, but to really study astrology, not to just look in my, growing up, looking in the newspaper and getting an idea of what me as an Aries, who I am. I mean, kind of. And I feel like that demeans it because there's so much more in the planetary alignment and how things progress and how we're really affected by all this energy.
Well, let's start off with the birth chart. So what is, for our listeners, what is a birth chart?
So a birth chart is when you were born, your planetary alignment. So everything aligns specifically to the planets, the degrees, the houses, and it all means something. And the birth chart reading is something I only do once because once you kind of know that, you don't really need to go in depth into it again. But what I do is a solar return reading, which every year the planets change. So with that comes, a different cast of characters. And I mean, think about your years, right? Some years are very easy. Some years are very challenging and very difficult.
Right.
So I feel like if we know the blueprint of all this, it helps us navigate through this so much better. It doesn't mean we're not going to have the pain or the whatever is supposed to happen, but we at least have a blueprint or some kind of guide.
So if you look at a solar return, so you still use the person's birth date and time, or is it different?
Yeah, I use all that information, and then it really depends on where they live, too. I want to know exactly where they live because, believe it or not, it can change depending on location.
Okay.
And so I'm going to look, now astrologers all do this very differently. Some look at just the sun, some look at just the moon. I look at the whole planetary alignment because from year to year, I can kind of navigate and guide on where I've been. It doesn't mean people always say, well, what exactly is going to happen? And my answer is, what do you feel? What do you feel? You know your chart better than I know your chart. I'm just reading a language and telling you an energy of possibility.
So somebody could go to you and say, okay, I have our work situation
Mm-hmm.
this year, how can you use my chart to help me make decisions at certain times?
Yeah, I'm going to look at your chart, and I'm going to look at when things happen, when the transits, meaning the transiting planets that are right now in the sky, how they're hitting your natal chart. So I'm going to get an idea of, okay, here's a possibility for you. Here's when to make a decision. For example, Mercury just went direct on Monday. It was a tough Mercury retrograde, I would say. It was Mercury retrograde in Leo, which is the shadow side of how to deal with your ego.
Oh,
So during a retrograde, you should never start anything new.
okay.
The energy is kind of wonky. And you should plan to do things around new moons rather than full moons. New moons are new beginnings. Full moons are closures of things.
Okay.
And this idea that I'm telling you is nothing new.
Right.
I mean, in other countries, India, China, they definitely use astrology to plan out very significant points in their life. So I know that I look at my chart every day. I look at what's going on in the sky every day. We've had some interesting things happen this year. People always ask me, they're like, "What the heck is going on
Yes.
this year?"
Yeah.
Well, we have personal planets, which are Mercury, Venus, Mars. Then we have the generational planets, which are Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So we had 2 generational planets change signs, and one of them, actually 3. I'm sorry, 3 generational planets change signs. And so when that happens, a lot of interesting things happen. It changes the course of a lot of things. One of the most significant things being Uranus. Uranus just went into Gemini in July. Now, it's called Uranus return. So it returns back to the chart of where it started about every 84 years. So what that means is significant. Uranus being the awakener. And in Gemini, it represents communication. You can kind of see where things are going in the United States of America, right? I mean, it's a lot of. We had this back, the last time we had this was during World War II. Before that, we had it in the Civil War, and before that, the American Revolution. So it's a time of big change in the country.
Conflict, would you say?
I would say conflict and big change. I would say we're moving into something else. And we have the world itself has been in Pisces. So every 2,500 years, the world Earth points to a different constellation. We have been in Pisces. We're moving into Aquarius. So when you think Pisces, where it started was Christ consciousness energy. The polarity of that is religious fanaticism.
Okay.
So you can kind of see how this is turning.
So would Aquarius be associated with more fanaticism?
That's Pisces.
That's Pisces.
Pisces is hierarchy and religion. Aquarius energy is collective energy. It's also about technology. It's friendships. It could be groups of people. That's why you're seeing a lot of activism happening. So people say to me, well, is this going to be a war? Or it could be, yeah. But it's going to be very different. It's going to be using technology. Think of drones.
Right.
Think of things like that. It never works out the way you think it's going to work out. So it should be interesting to kind of see.
Right. And see how what the planets are saying, how that translates to reality.
It's the energy. It's the same energy. And so it follows a certain pattern. But it's always a different experience.
Well, let's talk about Mercury retrograde for a minute, because people know that term. But when in my clinic, where I was like, okay, nothing's working, the printers are down. What's Mercury doing? So explain what is Mercury retrograde and why does it just mess everything up?
So it appears that the planet is going backwards.
Okay.
And what it is it happens it happens 3 to 4 times every year because it takes only 88 days for Mercury to go around the sun. So it happens very quick. It's one of those times that you just have to revisit and kind of review things. It's not a time to make vast decisions.
Okay.
And just give yourself plenty of extra time to do things, to travel with your computer. Like I said, this last one was a really tough one. So
I was traveling a couple of weeks ago, and my flight was canceled at 4 a.m. on the way to the airport, and then it got canceled again.
and you're like,
Man, I have bad travel karma.
no, I mean, it's people always say, well, you can't help but always avoid things.
Right.
You just have to give yourself plenty of extra time and know anything can happen. I mean, people say, well, I have to sign this contract. And I'm like, that's okay if it was all created before the retrograde. Things that happen that flow into the retrograde, that's life. Life happens. But if you can avoid things like that, or if you can delay things, that's always the best.
And just that understanding.
The understanding, yeah. I mean, some things I might avoid, maybe going out on a first date.
It's not going to go well.
Maybe, I mean, it's just the communication can be, you could hear something that's not really there, or it could be skewed in some ways. I would say maybe a job interview, if at all possible, unless you're going for the fourth interview, and you're pretty secure on probably landing the job, but things like that, things that are major milestones, I would say kind of, if you can
careful.
just be careful. Yeah. And it's 3 weeks. I know that's a long time, but just kind of ride with it, ride the retrograde, so to speak.
Give more time and understanding for
Exactly.
So earlier you mentioned generational planets versus personal planets. Are the generational planets more because they are on the outside and they have a longer orbit?
Because they're longer, they take longer to go into different signs. For example, you have Saturn stays in a sign about 2.5 years. You have Uranus stays in a sign about 7, Neptune 14, and Pluto is about 20.
Okay.
So the United States in 2022 had its Pluto return. It was in the second house of money. Big things were going to happen. So Pluto represents death, destruction, and then transformation. And death could be death of a certain energy. It doesn't always mean a physical death.
Right.
And we're seeing that, right? We're seeing how things are breaking down, how business is changing, how government's changing. It was in Capricorn, which represents business and government. Now that it's in Aquarius, it's going to present a whole different dynamic. We're going to see probably the most amazing things happen in technology. It might eradicate diseases that we never thought would go away. It is AI, and I know for a lot of people that's a scary term: artificial intelligence, machine learning. But if you use it as a tool, it's an amazing thing. It's just it's understanding that the Terminator. It doesn't always necessarily mean that.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and the person was saying that we're going to have to convince the machines to let us stay here because they're, a higher being than we are, and so why would they need us?
I think
so
that's
that was
always.
interesting.
I think that's always kind of like a thing, but I think that there's always. I mean, I think the human being has a soul, and the computer doesn't have a soul.
Right.
And the soul lives on forever. I mean, the body is just a vessel. So it's the manifestation of what you think it's going to be and what people collectively think it's going to be. If it's inherently evil, it'll be inherently evil. If it's a useful tool, it'll be a useful tool. And it could be all of the above. It's just, I think that we as the people have more power than we think we do.
I like that. I'm going to have you hold that thought. We're going to pause for a break from our sponsor. You're listening to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper Smith, and my guest today is Melissa Marcum, vibrational astrologer. Before the break, we were talking about planetary alignments and Mercury retrograde and a little bit about the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, does the full moon really affect people?
It really does.
Yeah.
And
Why?
actually, I mean, the moon is it's such a weird kind of astrological, um, I wouldn't say it's a planet. It's just a weird dynamic. And there's so many different theories of why it does what it does. It does affect, I know for women, it affects their menstrual cycle.
I think more women have babies.
More
during the
women
full
have
moon.
babies. It represents mother in the chart. It's a very feminine energy. They say that more accidents in hospitals happen during a full moon, more emergencies. So it is very prominent in astrology, I would say.
Yep. In our clinic, we just get more phone calls. There seems to be more nurturing that needs to happen during those times.
And it is, and when I look at the chart too, it is the fourth house is which represents the moon in the chart, in the Western chart. It represents home, family, and it is an unconscious house, 4, 8, and 12. So it's a water sign, and water is the strongest element, right? It can knock out anything. And if you look biologically, I mean, we were a water planet. I mean, and the percentage of us made up of water is, I'm trying to think what it is offhand, but
It's a lot.
it's a lot, yeah. So it's pretty significant. So I would say, yeah, it does affect a lot. The
think
moon
it's-
itself affects a lot.
I think it's always fascinating because
Yeah.
we'll kind of be feeling this energy coming in. We're like, okay, where's the moon at? Like, we'll go look.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And depending on what your moon sign is in, mine's in Cancer, so I can feel it. Like I can get kind of moody and I want to be alone, and and it's moon represents the unconscious, where the sun is kind of the outer you. The moon is the inner you.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. People have heard of their sun sign. For
Yeah.
example, I'm a Leo, and you were
I'm an Aries.
An Aries.
They were fellow fire signs. Yeah.
in leaders and
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So-
We like to get stuff done. And what was your moon sign?
Pisces.
Pisces. Okay. So Pisces moon likes to kind of go inward.
Right.
When you're alone, you like to be alone, and
Yep.
you like to, it's like
And
close the doors.
introverted, extrovert.
Yeah, omnivert. Omnivert, I think is the word. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
that too.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like you like to show yourself. The Leo
Yes.
likes to, the lion, but then you like to go inward too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is really neat to, for self-reflection, to say, oh, okay, that explains why this part of my personality exists.
Right. And I would say probably with a moon sign in Pisces, sometimes depending on where it is in your chart, and I know I did your chart, but I have to have it in front of me, but you could probably have an amazing dreams.
I actually will journal my dreams in the morning, and my husband comes out and he says, you dream every night. I said, you don't? And so,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You could go that's a special time for you, a special place
Right.
for you, and it's like where you feel. I find having a moon sign in the unconscious in the moon and the water planets is, we could just go inward and just, get that nourishment time that we need.
Yep. Well, good. So tell me how astrology relates to biohacking.
I know it's an interesting concept,
Yeah.
right? So about a year ago, I met somebody who turned out to be my partner. We're getting married and everything, but anyway,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
That's wonderful.
So he was a biohacker, and I was like, well, what is biohacking? What does that mean? And it's really biohacking your body, getting your body to the optimal performance, what it should be. But because of genetics, we get half our DNA from our mom, half from our dad, because of the food that we eat, which is not so good, right?
Yep. Our soil is depleted and we're
All of
losing,
that,
losing nourishment.
environments,
Yeah.
we're losing all of that. So it's really about supplementation and doing things like grounding is really big. Grounding, red light therapy, cold plunge. I know
Okay.
that I've worked up to taking about a 3-minute cold shower, which I could never do that. I mean, it took me about 3 months to be able to do it. But it shocks the cold shock proteins in our system, and it's almost like a fight or flight type energy. And it's great for getting up. It's better than a cup of coffee or even some tea because it's like it awakens you.
It's anti-inflammatory.
All of that. All of that. So he said, me being an astrologer, why don't we mix it with astrology? Because if we can get our body to be at the performance that we want it to be, and we follow our chart, oh my gosh, can you imagine how great we would feel? And I started doing that. And I want to tell you that it's probably the most challenging thing I've done, but the best thing that I've done, because I really started to understand how my body works, what I'm eating. I started doing strength training, lifting. I lift like 130 pounds now, which it's amazing. I always thought of myself as a weakling. But I feel better overall. And I think as I'm 56, as I get older, we have bone mass depletion, right?
So important to lift heavy things to stay healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was doing the normal things, what I thought was normal, and I'm not saying that these are bad things, but a lot of cardio and they help me, but I wasn't changing my body.
So how did you use the information in your chart to make that decision to change things up?
So I started to put the chart together based on where I saw my abnormalities in my chart, as far
Okay.
as like I looked at, for example, the sixth house. The sixth house is house of health. I looked at my ascendant. My ascendant is what I'm trying to ascend to. The eighth house, house of surgeries, house of women's, female reproductive. House 12th house, which is the karmic house. And I started to create charts like this. And I'm like, here's what I need to work at, when I'm feeling sluggish. Let's say I'm having a transit, with Neptune. And it's like, how do I get myself kind of out of this funk?
Yeah.
Or I'm having a moon transit. What can I do? These are things, hey, maybe I need to, journal. Maybe I need to do some cold plunge. Maybe I need to, up this, up that, whatever that is. And the supplementations, things like NAD, glutathione, I mean, methylene blue, it's
Yep.
amazing what they do. I mean, it's like I don't have that crazy, I got to get up at 4 a.m. and solve the world's problems anymore. It's like, nope.
You feel like emotionally it helped ground you?
Emotionally, it helped ground me too. And doing little things like if I wanted to sleep and, oh my gosh, my body's getting up, like I'm getting up at, like I said, 4 a.m, take a little bit of raw honey. Maybe I need to feed that part, and, my glycemic intake is low. So I need to I need a little bit of that sugar to stay asleep instead of saying, the body saying, okay, where is this? Where.
And do the things you need to do change based on how things are aligned at that time?
No, I pretty much take a supplement stock every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I know what's coming. So I'll do the extra things. The supplement stuff is going to stay the same. It's what I do with the time, as far as like, hey, I need to work a little bit on this because I'm having this really hard moon transit. I'm feeling really emotional. So maybe it's time to lay low and maybe journal, or maybe spend some time in nature. I know it's really hot out right now in Florida, but I mean,
Go in the morning.
go in the morning. Exactly. go really early in the morning. I mean, another thing is breathing.
Yes.
That is so important. And I fought it for so long. And it's like I do 10 of the most obnoxious breaths in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it 3 times. And it's amazing. I'm blowing out all that old carbon dioxide and I'm feeling so much better. I'm feeling like, okay, I can, let's bring this day on kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, this was really fascinating, and there's so much more to talk about. So we'll have
Oh
to
my
do this
gosh.
again sometime.
Absolutely.
But meanwhile, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more or have a reading?
Absolutely. So I have 2 websites.
Okay.
I have my first is under Melissa is mmastrovibes.com. And then to get a hold of me is Melissa Marcum at mmastrovibes.com. And then I have Vibe Vital, which is vibrationvitality.com. Vibe Vital. So, and if it's just confusing of all that, you can always Google Melissa Marcum, vibrational
And
astrology.
find you that way.
Yep,
Great.
exactly.
Well, thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you, Amy.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. If there are topics you would like to hear more about, please send an email to radiantpodcast2025@gmail.com. Check out past episodes on Amethyst Wellness YouTube. And we are now featured on Apple Podcasts and all your favorite platforms. Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review with a quick comment. It really helps us reach more listeners just like you. I'll be back next Saturday morning at 7:30 with more expert insights and practical strategies to help you live your healthiest, most energized life. Until then, stay healthy, and here's to your best life.